Jeff Powers, Senior Writer for RealTime Fantasy Sports, and welcome to another edition of the RealTime Fantasy Sports Show. On today's show, we're going to be doing something a little different for the first time ever. We're going to be broadcasting a draft that we did with the champions of our site. We call it the Champions Draft. These are the top-rated players on RealTime Fantasy Sports, and they draft. We do this draft every year. We do it for the Draft Guide, where we write articles going over our picks and strategy and getting the owners' comments. So this year we decided we're not only going to do that, but we're also going to tape the draft. We're not going to show you the entire draft, but about half of it on this Zoom call. So we have the owners on the draft. They're going to be telling you why they're making certain picks, what they're doing, talking about different strategy as well, not only pertaining to this draft, but drafts overall. So you're definitely going to want to check this out. This is the Champions Draft that we do here at RealTime Fantasy Sports. And if you want to get in a draft, a lot of these owners in this draft you're going to be watching here shortly do drafts every night on our site. Go to rtsports.com, sign up for a draft today. We have all sorts of different options. We have different price points. We have different formats. Just go to rtsports.com, sign up for a league today. And now, here is the Champions Draft on RealTime Fantasy Sports. All right, and we're ready to start the Champs Draft on RealTime Fantasy Sports. It's the first time we're ever doing this. We're doing a Zoom call, so you can see most every one of our drafters on this call here, and we're going to be talking to them about their picks, about what they're doing in this draft. First pick up is Justin Cox. Just a little, Justin. Big surprise you took Christian McCaffrey. Any thoughts on taking anyone else, or was it Christian all the way?
No other considerations for me. Just too good all around. So,
all right. Next pick, Rick Mogard. He is actually not on this call, unfortunately, but he took Saquon Barkley. The big debate there is between Zeke and Barkley in most drafts. Rick went with Barkley with that pick, and up now is Gregory Marpees. He is the R&R Express. He's been in this league several years. Greg, what are you thinking about taking with this pick?
I took Michael Thomas. I just saw Elliott hit the past couple of years. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't seen as much like production as years past. So Drew Brees is coming back for another year. I think I'll go with Michael Thomas.
You're going with the sure thing and the consistent production from the receiver spot.
Yeah.
All right. Rocco's up next. Rocco Frost. He's a veteran on the side as well. He has Elliott sitting there, most likely going to be his pick. Let's see what he does. After him is Paul Farrell. His team name's Max Value. He picks after Rocco. After that is Brian Hugh. I hope I'm saying that right. He's not in this call, otherwise I'd ask him. Jeremy Brock, then Michael Rickmer, then myself, Ralph Shiavon, Brad Petri, and Stephen Hawley. That rounds out the first round of our draft, and that's order. And Rocco went ahead and took Ezekiel Elliott. Not a big surprise there. Paul's up now. Paul has a tough decision. These middle picks are really, really kind of tough ones. Paul, who are you going with?
I went with Alvin Kamara. I mean, with Dalvin Cook possibly holding out, I thought I'd go with Kamara. He's a beast. He catches a lot of passes, and he's healthy. I think he'll have a really good year. And Cook, I probably value Cook a little more, but with the holdout thing, I'm going to go Kamara.
All right. Sounds good. Now we got Brian's up. Unfortunately, he's not on this call, but he's been in this league several years as well. So he's a veteran on the site. Good to see him in this draft once again. He's up. After him is Jeremy Brock. So far, we have 4 running backs off the board and 1 receiver. Not a surprise. Running backs have been going early and often in drafts right now. Brian is still on the clock. Let's see who he's going to pick. I'm coming up in 3 picks after him, picking in the 9 spot. Not a big fan of that personally. I'd rather either be on the either end and not in the middle. Don't like this 9 spot as well. You think I'd do myself a little better since I set up this draft, but I went with the randomized button and I stuck to it. So no shenanigans going on over here, guys.
Well, Brad likes random.
Don't get me started.
Still got Brian on the clock. He has 20 seconds left here. He's having a tough decision on what he wants to do with this. This is a tough spot, though. You can go all sorts of ways with this pick here. And Brian's taking it down to the wire in this 6th spot. He went with Dalvin Cook, so that's who Paul was thinking about, or I should say, Paul who was thinking about taking Cook. So Brian went ahead and grabbed him up. And now we have Jeremy on the clock, and Jeremy's in the call here. Jeremy has a tough decision as well. He can go with some of those top receivers or some of those backs now after these top 6 guys are gone. It gets a little hairy with the back spot. So he went with Derrick Henry. Jeremy, tell me about that pick.
Figure I go with Derrick Henry. I know that they're going to feed him the ball. He's going to be the main show of the offense. They're going to run it through Derrick Henry. So as long as he stays alive, my team should be alive.
There you go. Went with Derrick Henry. Now Michael's up. Michael Rickmer. He is on the clock. Right now we have 6 running backs off the board, 1 receiver. Let's see who Michael takes. Michael, what are you thinking here?
It's kind of a tough spot for me here. I think I watch a lot of college football, and I'm pretty sure the quarterback for the Cincinnati Bengals is going to be a lot better than people think, even as a rookie. So I'm going to take his running back, Mixon.
That's who I was going to take if he was still there. Now I'm on the clock. Michael, I like that pick. What are your thoughts on Mixon this year and that new offense as well? You're looking for big things out of him?
Yeah, I think he's going to have a pretty good year because, like I said, I think the rookie quarterback they drafted is going to be a lot better than a lot of people expect. I know he sure looked good a lot of LSU games I watched. So I think if A.J. Green's healthy and that other kid, he should have a pretty good year. Sorry about the name. Sorry about the name, Colin.
No worries. All right, I'm up now, and I'm really debating on what to do with this pick. Not a fan of all my options because I feel like I could get half these guys in the next round on my way back. I really want to lean running back here. I'm just not sold on a lot of these backs in this draft. I should say the receiver spot's so deep, so I feel like running back's the way to go here. I have some options to decide on, and I'm going to go ahead and take Kenyon Drake. I'm really high on Drake this year. Might be a little higher than most, but love his upside in that offense. I think he's going to get a ton of touches. So I'm going with Drake. All right, Ralph, you're up.
Nice guy, Jeff. That's who I was taking.
Uh-oh.
So that's my turn to snipe Mr. here. I'm also going to go running back. I'm going to take Austin Eckler because there are no other options in that town. And I think it's the second year he's going to improve. I think he's going to catch a few passes. And he doesn't have any competition. And my number one running back has got to be somebody who's going to give me some heavy volume and hopefully catch a few passes out of the backfield. But, you can't make a mistake on your first pick, and it's going to be running back. He's going to have to give you volume. So.
All right, Ralph goes with Austin Eckler. I know there's a lot of different thoughts and debates on him this year, but he goes in the first round of this draft. Ralph, you seem like you're pretty sold on him, taking that number 1 spot and running away with it. You're not too worried about his backups there, Justin Jackson. You don't think he'll cut into his workload at all?
No, not too much there. I you know what? They're going to have to dump the ball off to him. Okay. That's he's gonna catch the passes. That's gonna teach a lot of points, and he's not gonna run the ball as much, but I think he'll get enough action there. We're down to the point where everybody's gonna share the rock. I mean, top backs are gone. The ones that are gonna be totally probably in it 100%, and so now we're at the point of who's gonna get you the most points and still start. I like to start the running back. Because there is so much, like you say, there is so much depth in wide receiver. And I hope that I get some points here on receptions to make up for some of the lost carries. He's going to get to Jackson and the other guy. So,
All right. Brad Petry's up. Brad always has the entertaining photos behind him. You can find him in any league by his photos for the most part. You know Brad's in your league with his team photo and for his team logo, I should say. So, Brad, you're up. You have some tough decisions. You want to go another running back, or are you looking at getting one of those elite receivers? What are you thinking here?
Well, I've had so many end spots that I really don't like anybody here so much that I'm probably going to take Sanders as much as I don't want to. I'm not really overly high on him, but I think one of the receivers will come back to me that I've got an eye on. So, I'm going to take the back there. And all the drafts I've been doing recently, running back heavy, usually the first couple rounds, even into the third round. So I'm going to at least get somebody that can start for me at running back.
All right, Stephen Hawley's up. Stephen, you have back-to-back picks here. I assume you probably don't mind picking on the wheel here where you can get 2 picks back-to-back if you're not picking in the top 3. Do you like this spot here in 12?
Yeah. I don't like with the options that I have left. I made my queue with 11 running backs and 1 wide receiver, and these are probably the last 2 guys I would pick if they were available, and unfortunately it's so. But they're both going to be running backs, kind of like Petrie touched on. The drop-off in the 3rd, 4th round, in my opinion, is far more significant at the running back position than wide receivers. So the last 2 guys I had on my queue were running back Aaron Jones. I expect the touchdown regression to be there, but at the same time, he still catches over 50 passes. I'm not looking for him to be the RB2 like he was last year. So, yeah, I don't mind taking Aaron Jones. And then a guy that I actually do like, Josh Jacobs of the Las Vegas Raiders. Really like the efficiency he had for his rookie season. And if he can just increase his catch production, I think he could be a guy that, should be going in the 1st round, and hopefully he won't let me down.
Yeah, that's a big question with Jacobs catching those passes. If he catches those, he looks outstanding there for Steven. You get 2 running backs back-to-back. So you look at the 1st round, we have all running backs except for 1. Gregory took Michael Thomas with the 3rd pick. The rest were all running backs. So that's how it plays out. 1st round of the draft. Again, I'll recap that. McCaffrey, Barkley, Thomas, Elliott, Kamara, Cook, Henry, Mixon, Drake, Eckler, Sanders, Jones. And with the 1st pick in the 2nd round, Steven took Jacobs, giving him 2 solid running backs on his roster. Now we have Brad up. Brad Petry's up. Again, he took running back in the 1st round. Brad, what are you looking at with this pick?
Well, as I said, I thought one of the 3 wide receivers would at least be there, and they're all 3 still there. So Steven took those 2 running backs and gave me the option to pick one of the 3 receivers that I was contemplating on at pick 11. So I'm going to go ahead and take Devontae Adams here in the 2nd round.
All right. Brad takes Devontae Adams. Ralph Schiavon's up. Ralph is on the clock. He has Austin Eckler was his 1st pick. And now is Ralph, what are you looking at here in the 2nd round?
I don't know. Foos did it to me again. He took my man. He does it all the time. Jeez, I had Adams in my queue. So now that I can't get Adams, I'm going to come back with a running back. And I'm going to come back with the beast. I'm afraid he's not going to catch as many passes as I'd like. But he's going to be an potent offense. He's probably going to gain 13, 14 yards, score some touchdowns. And he's an excellent running back. I got hope in him, and that's Nick Chubb.
All right, Nick Chubb. Ralph gets Nick Chubb in the 2nd round, giving him Eckler and Chubb as his 2 backs, 2 solid backs to start off his draft. I'm up now with the 4th pick in the 2nd round. I have Kenyon Drake on my roster. Tough decision here. So many running backs already off the board, leaving me some good options at the receiver spot. I think I'm going to go ahead and go receiver and take DeAndre Hopkins with my pick. I don't know exactly what's going to happen to him in Arizona because he has a little more mouths to feed there, a little more options with Larry Fitzgerald and Christian Kirk, but I still love Hopkins, get a ton of volume. They're going to throw the ball a ton. So I'm happy to get Hopkins at giving me 2 Arizona Cardinals on my team. Maybe I'll have to get Kyler Murray next round. We'll see. So, Michael, you're up now. You took Joe Mixon with your first pick. What are you thinking about in the second round?
Well, I wanted Hopkins. I think I'm gonna. I'm torn between a couple guys, and I don't know. Rookies just scare me too much sometimes. I'm gonna go running back with a guy I think that should have a pretty good year on this team, and I'm gonna take Todd Gurley.
All right, Todd Gurley. So that gives Michael Joe Mixon, Todd Gurley on his team. Gurley always has the injury questions, but we know if he's healthy and on his game, he can be one of the top backs in the game. So Michael's hoping for a rebound season for Gurley. Now we have Jeremy Brock up. He took Derrick Henry with his first pick. Now he's on the clock here in round 2. Again, there's just been 3 receivers taken and 14 running backs so far in the draft. Jeremy's up now. Jeremy, what are you going to go with?
Well, I'm thinking the running backs have been hitting hard, and the tiers and values are starting to get down there. So I can either jump on one now and make sure I still definitely get my second workhorse because Henry's definitely going to get fed, or I can go ahead and even my value up and go ahead and stay in the top tiers and get a wide receiver that's going to get me a lot of value. So out of the top ones that are left, I'm going to go with one of my all-time favorites that I think with a few more games is going to be one of the first or second top receiver this year. So I'm going to go with Tyreek Hill.
All right, Tyreek Hill. Jeremy now has Derrick Henry. Tyreek Hill is his first 2 picks. That makes it 4 receivers off the board. Hill is the 4th receiver taken. Brian Hugh is up, and he took Dalvin Cook with his first pick. We know Cook has some issues of a possible holdout, so you don't know what's going to happen there. Maybe Brian might take it a little safer with this next pick, go with a safe play here because of the Cook situation, or maybe he'll just end up getting Alexander Madison a little earlier than he should later in the draft. So let's see what Brian does here. He's getting ready to pick. Like I said, just 4 receivers taken so far. Thomas, Adams, Hopkins, and Hill. Running back's been flying off the board in the draft right now. Brian is on the clock. He has about a minute left. And he takes Travis Kelce, so second straight Chief off the board. Hill and then Kelce. Kelce, the number 1 tight end in the game, plays more like an elite fantasy receiver. So Brian went ahead and took him in the second round. Paul's up. He took Alvin Kamara with the 5th pick in the first round. Now he's up in the second round. Paul, what are you going to do here?
Well, I think I'm going to go with the best receiver left, and I'm not a big Julio Jones fan. So I'm going to take Chris Godwin.
All right, Chris Godwin. So you still have high expectations for him this year after last year? You think he's going to build on that with Tom Brady? You think he's still going to be able to produce those huge numbers with Brady as his QB?
I think he's going to be a beast. I really do. I think he's going to, if he can stay healthy, he probably could be the top 3 receiver.
All right, so Paul takes Godwin. Next up was Rocco, and Rocco took Julio Jones, who Paul just talked about. He was considering taking, so he goes right after him. That makes 5 receivers and a tight end taken in the second round compared to just 3 running backs. So it's skewing a little bit now. We're going with a little more receiver heavy at this point. A few more receivers flying off the board in round 2. Gregory, you're up now. You took receiver in the first round, so I have a hard time believing you're going to take another receiver. But what are you thinking about doing here?
Yeah, I got to go running back. You know, even though it looks sexy on your roster when you get like 2, 3 hot receivers, but no running backs, that'll kill you, you know.
Yeah.
So I think I'm gonna go with Fournette. He gets the carries, so from what's left on there, I'm gonna grab him.
All right. Gregory goes with Leonard Fournette. That gives him Michael Thomas, Leonard Fournette as the foundation of his team in the first 2 picks. Now Rick's up. He took Saquon Barkley in the first round. Running backs really flying off the board a little bit. The guys left currently: Le'Veon Bell, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, David Johnson, Chris Carson, James Conner, David Montgomery. Still some decent options out there, but the top ones definitely are gone. Those tiers are drying up quickly. Let's see what Rick does here now with his second pick, and he's at the end of the second round. He's the 11th pick in the second round. He had Saquon Barkley already on his team. And then to round out the second round, Justin Cox will be on the clock. Let's see what Rick does here with his pick. He took Melvin Gordon, so he goes running back, takes Saquon, Melvin Gordon. That gives Justin Cox the next pick. He is on the clock after getting fortunate enough to get the first pick in the draft and Christian McCaffrey. Justin, what are you going to do now?
I'm going to go ahead and take Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I just think that offense is way too good to pass up on getting a piece of. And he's obviously got a little competition there, but no one that I'm super scared of, I guess. His upside's way too high to pass on for me to pair with someone like McCaffrey at that. So,
all right. So Justin is going to take Christian McCaffrey. He got the sure thing, the number 1 pick, and then he went with Edwards-Helaire. So my question to you, Justin, I know you said his upside's huge and you like him in that offense, but do you take a little more of a chance since you already had McCaffrey, or do you feel good about Edwards-Helaire?
I feel good about him overall,
no matter
honestly.
what.
No matter what. But I think having McCaffrey, or like any of those first 3 guys there, that McCaffrey, Barkley, Elliott kind of guys, makes it a little easier to take him too, because you're going to have that high-end production regardless. So it does make it a little easier there.
Okay.
And then after that, I think I'm going to go ahead and take I'm going to take Kenny Golladay.
All right, Kenny Golladay. He is the 6th receiver off the board.
Just for me, I think that I just like him more than any other receivers available, and there's not a running back that particularly stands out for me at this point. It could go another direction, but from the one spot, I really hate how taking a quarterback or a tight end kind of, jerks with your roster composition. It's harder to fill out the team for me at that point in the later rounds. So I just feel like it's best to stick with running backs and receivers at that spot if at all possible. So.
Okay, sounds good. So Justin has McCaffrey, Edwards-Helaire, Kittle, and Golladay, and George Kittle just went to Rick Mogard. He has Barkley, Gordon, Kittle, so he does not have a receiver on his roster yet. He went tight end with his 3rd pick, and now Gregory's up. He has Michael Thomas, Leonard Fournette. So right now we have 2 tight ends off the board after two rounds and 2 picks into this 3rd round, and we have seven receivers are now off the board: Thomas, Jones, Godwin, Hill, Hopkins, Adams, and Golladay. So running backs definitely went quick. Now, Gregory, you're up. You could go a couple different ways here. What are you leaning?
I'm leaning on getting another running back, but I don't know. The ones that are left right now, it's like, I don't know. But I think I'm still going to go running back, so I'll go with Le'Veon Bell.
All right, Le'Veon Bell. What are your expectations for him this year? I know he's
with Adam Gase, who knows? But I'm hoping he'll get some carries, and just put up some points for me, because if I go wide receiver, then I'm gonna, by the time it gets back to me, there might not be nothing left for really good for running back. So I figure I'd rather take a receiver later and get at least 2 running backs that I can get something on it.
All right. So Next up was Rocco Frost. He went running back next pick. He took Chris Carson. That gives him Elliott, Julio Jones, Chris Carson on his roster. And Paul Farrell's up now, so we got 2 straight running backs off the board in this third round. Paul's up with the 5th pick in the third round. Paul, what are you going to go for here?
Well, I'm going to go running back, but he's actually a quarterback. Lamar Jackson.
All right,
So he's a
Lamar
running back and a
Jackson,
quarterback.
first QB off the board. So has this been a target of yours, Paul? You've been going for Lamar in a lot of your drafts so far. I know
I like
most of
it.
you guys have been drafting a lot. So
Yeah, if you can get Lamar Jackson somewhere here in the third or the other quarterback on here, I usually go for it. It depends on the amount of players that you draft, and this is only a 16 round draft, so there'll be plenty of quarterbacks left. So I'm just going to get mine out of the way.
all right, so Paul gets the first QB off the board, Lamar Jackson, 5th pick in the third round. After him's Brian Hugh, and he went ahead and took David Johnson. That gives him Dalvin Cook, Travis Kelce, David Johnson. He still does not have a receiver on his roster after 3 rounds, but he's looking pretty good at the running back and tight end spot with Cook, Johnson, and Kelce. Jeremy Brock is up next. He has Derrick Henry, Tyreek Hill. Again, tough decision to make for Jeremy. Is he going to go receiver, running back here? Jeremy, what are you going to do?
All right, well, I've done decided what I am going to do. I was hoping this would fall to me. I wasn't sure if it would happen. I guess I'm lucky that Paul went the other direction and took Jackson instead, because I'm going to go Mahomes and tie him up with Tyreek Hill, and hopefully that combo together can give me some big points going. And I'm going to see what happens with the rest, but I'm going to gamble and go ahead and get this quarterback out the way as well.
All right. So, Jeremy, if you had the choice between Jackson, Mahomes, who would you take at this year? I know there's some debate. Some people have Mahomes rated higher.
At that point, right then and there, if I didn't have Hill, I would have probably took Jackson. But with the fact that I had either Kelce or Hill, like I had Hill, I want to tie him with Mahomes. But
Okay.
so if they were both still available, that intrigues the big question right there, which one I would have went for. And I would have had to pass on Jackson painfully enough and take Mahomes still.
Okay. So Mahomes is Jeremy's number 1 QB this year. Michael, you're up now. You have Joe Mixon and Todd Gurley with your first 2 picks in the draft. What are you going to do here in round 3?
I think I'm going to go with a guy that had an off year last year. He was injured a little bit. I think if he comes back strong this year, he can be a top receiver again. I'm going to take Odell Beckham Jr.
All right. Odell Beckham Jr. for Michael Rickmer. That gives him Joe Mixon, Todd Gurley, Odell Beckham on his roster. I'm up now. I took Kenyon Drake, DeAndre Hopkins with my first 2 picks. I'm looking running back here, and I'm hoping for a big rebound season from him. I'm going to take James Conner. I think he looks a lot better with Ben Roethlisberger on his roster. Still not totally convinced he is the guy. I know they have some other options in Pittsburgh, but if he's healthy and he comes out strong, I think Connor's going to be a good number 2 back for me, and I hope he can just stay healthy this year. I think that's a big thing for him. He needs to stay on the field. He also needs Ben Roethlisberger out there. So I took James Conner. That's my number 2 back, giving me Drake, Conner, and DeAndre Hopkins. Ralph, you're up now with the 10th pick in the third round. You have Eckler and Chubb on your roster already. What are you going to do here?
I'm going to go for a receiver that's really high, that I'm really high on. I'm not the only one, but he's not quite as high on the boards right now. But he's probably one of the best receivers in contested catches. And he's done it for 5 years with craft quarterbacks. Maybe with Nick Foles, he's going to improve. He's going to throw on the rock, or Trubisky's going to improve. But I'm going to take Allen Robinson. I think he's definitely a wide receiver one of the top 10 wide receivers out there. I'm going to grab him now while I can, because I think he's that good. I got to find him my spot here, but I'm picking Allen Robinson, the third round.
All right, Ralph. Siobhan takes Allen Robinson with the 10th pick in the 3rd round, giving him Eckler, Chubb, and Robinson. Brad Petry's up now. He has Miles Sanders, Devontae Adams on his team. He is on the clock with the 11th pick in the 3rd round. Brad, what are you leaning towards with this pick? I think Brad's on mute and he's talking. Brad, go ahead and take yourself off mute so we can hear your thoughts here. Oh, there you go.
Ralph kind of took my pick there, which is not unusual. I had Robinson queued to be my next pick. We draft a lot, and I know that's one of his favorite receivers, so I kind of figured he'd be gone. So I'm still going to go receiver. I don't like him as much this year for a variety of reasons. Don't like the Week 13 bye either. But I'm going to take Mike Evans, and hopefully he does somewhat what he did last year. But I think Godwin will probably be Brady's number 1 target. But at the end of the 3rd round, I'm going to give Evans a shot. All
right, so Brad gives himself 2 solid receivers with Devontae Adams, Mike Evans, and he has Miles Sanders as well. Stephen Hawley's up now for 2 picks at the end of the 3rd and beginning of the 4th round. He has 2 running backs on his roster, Aaron Jones, Josh Jacobs. Stephen, what are you going to do with these next 2 picks? How are you going to stack your team here?
Well, obviously having to wait for so long for 2 more picks. I'm definitely going to go with who I think is the best receiver still on the board for me. It's a guy I've liked even since he came out as a rookie. I don't expect much to really change in the offense. And you think about a guy that caught almost 90 balls last year with the quarterbacks that he had, that, Teddy Bridgewater will be somewhat of an upgrade compared to Kyle Allen. So I'm going to take DJ Moore of the Carolina Panthers at wide receiver.
All right, he goes DJ Moore with his first receiver.
And then for the second pick, I think I'm going to take a little gamble. I don't quite expect a whole lot in the beginning of the season for this guy, but, it's a rookie running back that the Indianapolis Colts actually traded up to get in the 2nd round. I'm going to take Jonathan Taylor as my 3rd running back for my roster so far.
Steven, I want to go back to you on DJ Moore picks. I feel like I'm higher on him than most, and I agree with what you said with the QB situation last year was not good either. I know some people are worried about Bridgewater entering as a QB and maybe not taking as many chances down the field, but your overall thoughts on Moore and maybe, being able to even build on last season. Do you think he can top his numbers from last year even?
I think the touchdown numbers can potentially increase. As far as catches, the players that I would be more concerned for the Carolina Panthers are your guys like Curtis Samuel and Robbie Anderson that they just signed the real, field stretcher. DJ Moore is kind of a more of an underneath guy, kind of could do a lot of things. And when Teddy Bridgewater played for Drew Brees, when he got hurt for the 6 games, you saw a lot of short, quick slant routes that Michael Thomas was getting, and Teddy Bridgewater was still able to get him the ball. Obviously, DJ Moore is not the same caliber of player, but if DJ Moore can get it to the 7-8 touchdown area, I think the catches are still there, and I think the production will still be there for him.
All right. So, Brad Petry, you're up now. You have Sanders, Adams, and Evans on your team. What are you going to do with this pick?
Well, quite honestly, I didn't think Steven would take Taylor, so I had planned for him coming back. With that being said, I'm probably going to go another wide receiver at this point. I think it's kind of a tough call. I've got 2 guys I typically take here. I think I'm probably going to take the one that I take the least. So right now I'm going to take Amari Cooper.
All right. That gives you 3 receivers, Brad. You have Devontae Adams, Mike Evans, Amari Cooper, and Miles Sanders as your running back. Ralph, you're up now. You're on the clock. You have Austin Eckler, Nick Chubb on your team, Allen Robinson as your only receiver at this point. What are you going to do in the 4th round?
So when I'm this far back in the draft and I'm about 20-some picks coming back to me, if I don't get a running back right now, I'm not going to get one. And I've got to take somebody off it's not running the same bye week because it's so much easier to get a wide receivers, to draft them in fab or pull them off the waiver wire. Running backs are really hard. So quite often I'll do 3 out of 4 running backs to get started because there's plenty of receivers. I'm just not crazy of who's out there. It's kind of a toss-up for me. I'm not too crazy what I've got out there. But I'm going to take a guy, and I wasn't planning on taking 2 Bears right away, but it looks like I'm going to take a guy who I know is going to be the starting running back and get the rock. I don't know how much he's going to catch some passes. But for a running back 3, will give me some depth on, and maybe be a flex upon occasion because I'm probably not getting him coming back. I'm taking David Montgomery.
Well, if it makes you happy, Ralph, that's who I was going to take. So you sniped me there. That was going to be my pick. So
I'm good at that,
Yeah, that's perfect.
That's what Brad tells me anyway.
So I have Kenyon Drake, James Conner, and DeAndre Hopkins on my team. I kind of am feeling the same way Ralph is and some others in this draft here. I think draft room, I should say, easy for me to say. And I think that receiver position is just super deep this year. So the running backs are drying up quick. I don't know what's going to be left when I pick again. So I'm going to take another back. I'm going upside here, take a little bit of a chance. I'm going to go ahead and take Cam Akers. I just like the way that the Rams can produce big-time running backs, and they ran a lot of two tight end sets last year, I should say. So that's mean they're a little more geared towards running the ball these days, I think. And I think Akers is going to be the guy. I don't have much worries about Henderson and Malcolm Brown taking work from Akers. Akers is a clear guy. I really think he can be the top overall fantasy rookie running back scorer this year. So I'm going to take Cam Akers, giving me Akers, Connor, Drake, and Hopkins on my roster right now. So for the people that have picked already, I want to ask you guys some questions now, as you guys can keep picking who are on the clock coming up now, and we can address your picks a little later. But some of you guys have picked already. I want to get your thoughts on maybe some questions. Like, Justin, I'll ask you first. What do you think are some common mistakes that drafters make that you see in you do a lot of drafts on RealTime Fantasy Sports? What do you think are some mistakes you see some drafters make?
I think not planning ahead. Because I think a lot of times it's important to know, what your plan is going. When you're picking, when I'm picking at 2 and 3 there, I have a general idea who's going to be available at the 4 or 5 turn as well, So, and I'm always thinking, well, what's the best case scenario if I go 3 running backs here, or if I take Lamar Jackson instead of Kenny Golladay, who's going to be available? Are there going to be enough receivers available that I'm comfortable with as the wide receiver 1 and 2 kind of situation? That's something I think for sure. And I'd say that's
okay.
Right.
Brad, I want to ask you, Brad Petri, you're on our side a lot. Anything that you've seen this year, maybe a little different from past years, that's going on in drafts right now? Is there any trends you're seeing right now? Anything that has caught your eye in a lot of drafts that have taken place so far? Sorry, Brad, you're on mute again. Could you? There you go.
I've never seen so many teams in the TFC and the RTFFC start with 3 running backs. To me, that's kind of unusual to me. I think it probably tells you the depth of what people perceive the wide receiver position to be, and the lack thereof of running backs after certain rounds. So I see that, and I'm kind of following what I end up doing in the other ones, because I feel like some of the running backs are being taken too early, but that's just my opinion. So I might live or die by that philosophy, but there's some running backs that's already been drafted I haven't taken once this entire year. So my opinion of certain players is probably a lot different than others, I guess. And so, I might get stuck here without one, but another running back. But that's kind of how I've been surprised about 3. Some guys have taken 4 in a row to start drafting. So.
Wow. Well, it's good to know, though. It's interesting. I know a lot of people who are going to end up watching this or listening to it on the podcast as well have not done a lot of drafts. So it'll be good for them to see and hear what's the trend in drafts so far this year. It's really been a little bit running back heavy, as this draft has been as well. There's a lot of people with 3 running backs already. That I can count 3 teams right now with 3 running backs already, and we are a little over halfway of the 4th round. I'll get you caught up on the picks. Michael Rickmer took Juju Smith-Schuster after I took Cam Akers. Then Devin Singletary went, Cooper Kupp, Raheem Mostert, Adam Thielen. So, Jeremy, let me ask you about Devin Singletary. What are your thoughts on him? Was this just a pick more out of need, or do you really think that Singletary is going to have a big year this year? Do you think he's going to have a breakout year, build on his finish to last season?
He's definitely going to build on last season. He's not fighting war this year for the touches. They did bring in the rookie. He may steal a little bit of goal line work, but overall, he's going to catch a lot. He got a great offense. They got downfield help now with the receivers, so it'll take more pressure off him. He'll be able to do a lot more work this year in his second year than he was even allowed to do in his first year. You can see that at the end of the year that he was coming on strong. So, and there's also the fact that by the time it gets back to me, there's a good chance that I needed a second running back. So he's a good second running back. He's going to get a lot of passes. He'll fit the bill. He'll do what I need.
All right. So Zach Ertz was the next pick made by Gregory Marquez, and he has Michael Thomas, Leonard Fournette, Le'Veon Bell, Zach Ertz. Gregory, were you targeting a tight end at this spot? Has this been kind of a trend for you? Do you want to get one of those elite tight ends on your roster?
Usually I'll wait on a tight end if I don't, see one that I really like early. But there's really good value this year on Zach Ertz, Getting him at the bottom of the 4th round, I'll take that all day, So, and then I figure I can still get another receiver later,
I've noticed that with Ertz as well. He seems to be falling a little bit in drafts. I'm kind of wondering why that is. I don't know if the situation with Gettert there and maybe it worries owners a little bit, but man, his targets are still there. I'm a little surprised to see him.
Yeah, I'm okay with the other tight end. That doesn't bother me. Carson still throws to Zach, so I'll take him in the bottom of the 4th all day.
All right. So next pick was made, and that's Robert Woods. He goes in round 4 to Rick Mogard. That gives him Saquon Barkley, Melvin Gordon, George Kittle, and Robert Woods. Woods was actually his first receiver taken. We have 3 tight ends off the board, 2 QBs, and the rest are all running backs and receivers, and a lot of those have been taken. Justin, you're on the clock now with 2 picks. You have Christian McCaffrey, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and Kenny Golladay. What are you going to do with these next 2 picks?
Ideally, I'd love to have a running back here that I was in love with, but because by the time he gets back to me, there's not going to be anyone left that I'm going to want either. But honestly, like I love Calvin Ridley. I love A.J. Brown. And for them both to be there at that turn for me, I'm thrilled to get both of them. I think Ridley showed a lot last year. Steve always goes on about this when we're talking about stuff of how the splits he had whenever Austin Hooper was out and everything versus when he was in. With Hooper gone now, makes things it opens up a little bit for him. So I'm going to go with Ridley. And then A.J. Brown's just – I know that they don't like to throw the ball too much in Tennessee, but he's just way too talented to not succeed, I feel like. So I'm going to go ahead and just lock up a couple receivers that I really like and go on with it. So.
All right. So Justin's going to go ahead and take 2 more receivers. That gives him 2 running backs, 3 receivers on his roster. He gets A.J. Brown and Calvin Ridley with his next 2 picks. Now Rick Mogard's on the clock. So we're through 4 rounds of the draft now. People's rosters are shaping up a little bit right now. How's everybody feel out there right now? You guys can jump in. You guys feeling pretty good about your rosters right now? Anything surprising you? Anything stand out in this draft after 4 rounds?
Yeah, some guy stole Cam Akers from me. Other than that, pretty good. Thanks.
No problem. Sorry, Paul. No. Anybody else? Anybody else see anything? I don't think there's been any really crazy picks so far in this draft. It's gone pretty not according to plan, but by the book a little bit. Anybody see anything? assignments.
Crazy where I'm coming from here on a turn back here, the 10 spot. So we'll see what's out there. So I'm scared.
So a lot of you have, well, obviously only two of you have taken quarterbacks, I should say. So what about the QB position? Let me ask you, Steven. I know you haven't taken one yet, and I don't want to give away your secrets, but how are you looking at the QB position this year?
I mean, with Lamar Jackson and Mahomes, honestly, those are about the spots where I start thinking about taking them in the third. In years past, I would never even really consider it, but I feel like the depth of talent that's in the third round this year is kind of about the same caliber that you can get in the fifth and even sometimes sixth round. So having a guy like Lamar, Mahomes, who are pretty much farther ahead of the pack, but and then there's about 3 or 4 guys about the 6th round, 7th round that I can consider, because it's kind of the same deal with the level of talent at the position players that provides the same thing. But I really do like some of the guys that you can get 9th, 10th, 11th round. I think there's some guys there that have been kind of forgotten about, whether it's injury or they performed at a level that maybe people didn't think was acceptable or had a down year. So for me this year, which has kind of been years in the past, like that 9th, 10th round area, I'm kind of building my roster first before I look at the quarterback, just because I really like the guys that are around that spot.
All right, so with the second pick in the 5th round, Rick Mogard took DeAndre Swift, a rookie running back from Detroit, and then Mark Ingram went to Gregory. That gives him 3 running backs: Leonard Fournette, Le'Veon Bell, Mark Ingram, Zach Ertz, Michael Thomas. DeAndre Swift just went. I took Cam Akers, another rookie running back. So, Paul, let me ask you. Oh, you're actually on the clock right now, but when you're done with your pick, you said I took Akers from you. I just wanted to ask you about the rookie class. Any other rookies you like this year? Anybody standing out to you that you think could have some big years as a rookie?
I really like Jonathan Taylor. He did pretty well. And there's some other ones I like, but they haven't been drafted yet. So,
okay.
DeAndre Swift, he could catch a lot of passes. I'm liking him. He has some competition. Where Akers and Taylor, I think, are above their competition. And maybe Swift isn't there yet. But I do like Akers and Taylor to be right up there in the top tier of running backs next year.
Okay. Paul just took Mark Andrews. Keenan Allen went before him to Rocco Frost. Then it was Mark Andrews to Paul. And then Brian took DK Metcalf. I wanted to ask you guys a question about, let me ask you, Ralph, handcuffs. How do you guys feel about handcuffs? I think it's kind of a hot topic now these days. Do you handcuff your top running backs, or are you just not going about that anymore? What's your feeling on handcuffing?
I see guys taking their handcuffs, see handcuffs go in the 8th, 9th round, which is a little too soon for me. Not when there's all that valiant wide receiver coming back. If I get a handcuff, it depends who I'm drafting. I mean, if it's a good handcuff, some of these guys like Pollard, Madison, yeah, they can go a little higher. It depends who your lead running back is. Some of these guys, you can get a handcuff at the end of the draft. And if I don't have a good handcuff, I've got 3 solid running backs, I'm going to try to give me some pass catchers down the road. I want to load up really well to start with, so I've got 3 solid running backs at least. And if one goes down, I still got 2. And that way, the handcuff falls to me, I'll take him. But I'm not going to go out of my way to take a handcuff. That's just me. Sometimes they go too soon. People are just taking them. I lose a lot of my handcuffs, but then I'm not going to take a handcuff when I get a wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3, where they're going to score a whole lot more points.
Okay. Anybody else have any opinions on handcuffing? I know it's kind of you see it a lot on Twitter and on SiriusXM. They talk about it a lot. Anybody's feelings on handcuff? Anybody else want to jump in?
I was thinking this year might be a year to handcuff more than other years, just because of the virus and maybe your guy being sick. But I don't know. That was just a thought. I like handcuffing, like Ralph said, if it doesn't really kill your team. You can get your handcuff in the 10th, 11th, 12th rounds. then I like it, but it's hard to take him before that. But this year it might be maybe a round or two early for me.
That's interesting. Interesting thought. Actually, one of my coworkers was in a draft, and he had the second pick, and he was trying to decide between Barkley and Elliott. And he thought about taking Elliott because he's already had COVID, and he's not going to miss any time because of that. And I'd never really thought about that, but it's not a bad thought. Interesting. So let me recap some of these picks. In the 5th round, Mark Andrews went to Paul. Then Brian took DK Metcalf. Jeremy took Cortland Sutton. Then Kareem Hunt went to Michael. I took Devontae Parker. DJ Shark went to Ralph after me, Tyler Lockett, and then Terry McLaurin. Receivers flying off the board. I took Parker. I'm not thrilled with that pick, to be honest with you. His numbers weren't the same when Preston Williams was in the lineup before he tore his ACL. So I'm a little bit worried about Parker producing at the same clip as last year. But in the 5th round, I'm okay taking him. That gives me just 2 receivers at this point, though. So I'll probably be looking at that position again in the next couple picks. I'm going to end the broadcast now. Anybody else want to add anything at this point? Anything you want to say? Anything at all? You got the floor.
Just thank you for having us. It's been a great time. I've enjoyed it and looking forward to the season. So
we appreciate you coming on with us.
I hope there's
I echo the same thing.
Yeah, I hope there's football this year.
Yeah, yes, sir.
You can catch all the information in our draft guide. We will have this up in our draft guide. We always do articles on this. These guys will send in some information on their picks that you might not have heard them talk about here. Some of the guys who aren't here will send in their info as well. It's always a great article to read to get their thoughts, but it's great to hear them live and in person here as well. So I appreciate everybody joining me. And don't forget to check out that draft guide as well. So we're very excited about that. It's a free product. You can get in the App Store as well or online at freedraftguide.com. So all this information will be in here. You can see a breakdown of the draft, talking about the best picks, the worst picks, although there hasn't been really many out in left field at this point. So like we all said, everybody does a great job on this one. It's always tough to pick, the pick. I always do something along the lines of surprise pick or something like that. So it's always tough to pick it because there's usually not a whole lot of surprises with this group. They do a great job. So thanks again, everybody, for joining us on this Champs Draft, first ever Zoom call. And we will see you in the draft lobby. All these guys will be in there most likely, and you'll probably be in a league with one of them.
Thanks, Jeff.
Appreciate it, guys.
Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate it.
And that was about half of the Champions Draft on RealTime Fantasy Sports. I want to thank all those owners for participating in the draft and the Zoom call, giving you some perspective on their picks and the fantasy football season for the coming year. I will show you the entire draft board here right now so you can see how the draft turned out for everyone in the league. And also, don't forget to check it out, all the content in the draft guide, freedraftguide.com. You can see all the draft guide comments from the owners and the picks made during the draft as well, with commentary on those from myself and the owners. So go to rtsports.com and you can click on the draft guide link, or just go to freedraftguide.com. It's also in the App Store, so you can download that app either for Android or iPhones, or Apple, I should say. So check it out. And I want to thank everybody again for participating in the draft. It was a lot of fun, great time had by all. So don't forget to sign up for a league today at RealTime Fantasy Sports. Go to rtsports.com, sign up for a league, different price points, different options on there, and you could draft with one of these great owners that you just watched on this RealTime Fantasy Sports show. This has been Jeff Power for RealTime Fantasy Sports. Have a great day, everyone.